So welcome. Welcome to CareerForce and More for Employers, Session 3. I'm Liz Jennings, Employer Engagement Specialist. So glad to have all of you on this webinar today. This series is an informational series to help you as an employer with resources, with recruiting, retention, expanding your search to job seekers you might not have considered before. You know, there are so many people in Minnesota that are looking for a job and that are just looking for that right niche. So we have employer specialists throughout Deed, throughout Minnesota that can help you with that. And that's the topic this webinar today with vocational rehabilitation services and state services for the blind, but more about that later. So in this series, we cover the who, what, where, why, and how of the CareerForce system, how to use Minnesota Works effectively, collaborating with all of our employer specialists and staff, and all of the other resources that we have on CareerForce MN. So today is May 18th, Session 3, we're going to be talking about disability hiring with vocational rehabilitation services and state services for the blind. You can find the entire lineup on careerforce-and-more-employers. It's a mouthful. I'll put it in the chat, but you've already been here, so you know where to find it. Please refer this to your colleagues. So I'm employer engagement specialist. I can connect you with our CareerForce locations in your region. I lead a number of webinars and special projects throughout the department, and I host periodically industry-focused webinars for job seekers. So one of the links on careerforcemn.com is our Meet Your Regional Team page. If you're following along on your computer right now, click on For Employers. You'll see on the right-hand side, it says Even More Resources on the bottom or across the top, Employers, Even More Resources. And then underneath that, it says Meet Your Regional Team. We have a number of teams that provide special services because we know on all of these topics there's so much more depth to how we serve employers and individuals so that a general team could do. So you can go to the Meet Your Regional Team and kind of get a preview of everyone that serves this. So today we have Marcy Jasper, who works in the vocational rehabilitation services, and we have Daisha Van Elstein, who works in state services for the blind. They are a team that serve employers in the metro, but then also they're connected with their coworkers who serve employers statewide in every single region doing this same work. And so they're going to be talking about how they work with you. And I should point out, and Marcy will back me up on this, that all of our services are at no cost. So, you know, we don't charge a fee to have a conversation with Marcy or Daisha. So they'll be talking a little bit more about that. So Marcy, over to you. And meanwhile, I'll help Daisha behind the scenes.
Great, thanks, Liz. Hi, everyone. I'm Marcy Jasper with Vocational Rehab Services. As Liz has mentioned, I have been with Vocational Rehab Services for about 20 years now. When I first started rehab services, I did more placement of individuals with disabilities, and I've really enjoyed that. And now I moved into more of a business engagement specialist. So that's kind of my role now. So I'm going to talk about back one more. Sorry, Liz. I'm going to talk about who VRS is, and then I will, if Daisha is ready to go, we'll move into Daisha. So VRS is an agency within Deed, the Department of Employment and Economic Development. We assist businesses in connecting with qualified candidates. And our goal is to understand the business's needs, create partnerships, and help them tap into a great source of talent. We also provide consultation, information, data, and resources to employers that might help in making decisions about recruiting, hiring, and promoting employees with disabilities. VRS is a voluntary program, so people come to our agency because they want to work. The individuals we serve range from students in high school seeking that entry level, maybe first time job, to skilled, experienced professionals with advanced degrees. We assist individuals with all types of disabilities, including the deaf and hard of hearing population. Daisha, are you with us?
I think I might be.
Yes.
Okay. I'm Daisha Van Alstyne with State Services for the Blind. I also work with businesses. State Services for the Blind is the sister agency of VRS. Some states have one agency that serves all disabilities, and then other states have the opportunity to serve individuals that have a vision loss, are blind or deafblind, in a separate agency that specializes in that. And so that's what our agency does. So we do the vocational rehabilitation. Then we also have we have a senior services unit that deals with individuals that are of retirement age, to help them to remain independent or as independent as possible. And then our radio talking book and our Braille department, all that fun stuff. But so I've been working with individuals and businesses for a really long time. And so that's State Services for the Blind.
Next slide. So VRS and SSB, as we shorten the titles up, we have about over 50 offices throughout the state. And our talent pool ranges, as I said, from entry-level job seekers to experienced professionals in all career fields. We also have a vocational counselor, or two now, that is dedicated to every high school in the state to assist students with disabilities as they prepare for and engage in work or training. So above is just a small sampling of industries that our folks represent. Again, because of the range of disabilities, the range of jobs vary too. Next slide. So in addition to assisting businesses with their recruitment needs, as I mentioned, we also do retention and promotion of individuals with disabilities. DEED, VRS, and SSB also provide internships. We provide on-the-job training where we have some dollars for that. And we also provide job tryouts along with straight up hiring. One of my biggest things that I do, and Daisha assists me a lot, is disability information and training. So if any businesses wants to get any sort of training on any disability related topic, you just call us and we can help with that. We also do consultation and resources. So if you have an individual that comes to you and they divulge that they have a disability and you would like to consult with us, feel free to reach out and we can help you with the resources that this individual would need. In those cases, they don't need to be a candidate of VRS or SSB. We can provide that for you at no cost. As I've mentioned, we can help you connect with youth. We have a really big push right now at both of our agencies for that youth population to get kids with disabilities out into the community more, to experience what's out there and to help them find a career path. The legislation came down and said that there wasn't enough being done for kids with disabilities. And so they tasked us and the Department of Education, and we partner with all the schools to really start working with these kids with disabilities and getting them out there. Daisha?
And then a huge focus of our agency is also accessibility. We believe in access for everyone, both agencies do. So we work really closely with companies to look at accessibility, and we have a whole team of individuals that are able to look at systems and find out if it works with any sort of assistive technology. We also do accommodation check-ins, so we can come out and look at things that are, low tech too. It doesn't, accommodations don't necessarily mean big pricey items or, technical software. Sometimes accommodations are just maybe tweaking something or lighting or something like that. And so we do a lot of those types of visits. We can also do everything from just a quick chat over the phone to an actual full report on what you would need to do in order to be able to hire somebody on that had some sort of vision loss or a dual sensory loss.
Great, next slide. So before we jump into CareerForce and all the great resources that CareerSource has on for disability hiring, we just wanted to kind of set the stage when it comes to disability. The word disability still has a big stigma out there attached to it. But did you guys know that 1 in 4 people actually have a disability out there? In the 2010 census, that was 56 million people. 20 census did not count disability. And so the stats that are out there now are saying it's more 61 million Americans disclose that they have at least one diagnosable disability. The great thing was as hard as COVID was on individuals, people with disabilities actually had a higher employment rate during COVID. I think it was the stay-at-home jobs. The job market in Minnesota was so great, and so people were getting jobs. So it was really good for folks with disabilities. Unfortunately, there's still 25% of the population with disabilities that remains either unemployed or underemployed. Next slide. So that was national. Looking at some Minnesota statistics, 21.7% of adults in Minnesota have some type of disability. One thing to remember with these statistics is disability is really hard to get accurate statistics for, and it's due to disclosure, which again, because of the stigma attached to disability, sometimes people don't want to disclose that they have a disability. And so these numbers can get skewed a little bit. And then also, what is considered a disability? There's many different almost definitions of disability depending on what you're looking at. The Social Security Administration definition, the ADA definition, Voc Rehab and SSB's definition. So just keep in mind that these are the best statistics we can get with what we have. Oh, one more thing, Liz. The great thing with Minnesota is that actually within the country, we are number 5 when it comes to employing people with disabilities. And so Minnesota has done a really great job businesses have done a great job of hiring people with disabilities. So thanks to some of you on the call, if that's what you do, that you have helped with these numbers. Next slide.
So let's take a look at CareerForce. It's some of these resources that they have on here. In order to find the resources on the CareerForce site, you just go to the For Employers. If you're following along with us, then you'll click Tailored Resources and then Disability Resources. So there's a lot of different resources that are available to you. There's also ways to get a hold of people that can help you. One of the great things is that our agencies are all pretty closely linked. We're completely separate agencies, but we communicate. So the important thing, if you do reach out to somebody, is that you just reach out to somebody. Because when you do, it doesn't matter if you get, me, you get Marcy, you get somebody else. We communicate and you're going to get what you need as long as you just reach out to somebody. But so you can do the next slide, please. So in here, you're going to see everything from, disability discrimination to reasonable accommodation, all different kinds of resources for you, information, and there is ways to get a hold of us on here too. Next slide. There's also a link to the Job Accommodation Network, which is really great. The Job Accommodation Network has a lot of resources for employers on ideas for accommodations. It'll go by disability. And so what you'll do is you'll go on there and you'll kind of look at the disability and have ideas. Now, when I say that, I mean they're ideas. So sometimes it might take a couple tries to get the right type of accommodation, or you can have 2 individuals with the exact same disability. As far as you looking at their medical charts, it looks exactly the same, but the way they experience their disability can be completely different. And so the accommodation might be completely different. So just keep that in mind, that just because it's on the list doesn't mean it's going to work. Next slide, please. And then we also have the bite-sized learning. So a group of individuals from DEED and the Mayo Clinic work together to create various modules. Currently, there are 5. We are looking at adding more. If you have ideas on specific topics you think would be great or would be very helpful, training is one of the things that we do. So that's something we can look at incorporating into one of the modules. They're pretty short in nature. They're meant to be done in a meeting or in, 20 minutes. Next slide, please. And they're things like you have the defining disability. So it's exactly what it is and what is what the ADA says about disability. So that's the first module, and they each have a takeaway card. There's a PowerPoint presentation and a video. So you'll have access to all of that. But these are our 5 we have so far. Like I said, if you have any additional modules that you think would be very helpful or topics, just let us know. We're always open, and we have not set the next ones that are going to be coming out. So we're really open to listening to your ideas. The purpose of these is for employers. So we want to make sure that we're getting the information to you that you want and that you need and that's going to help you, because that is what we do. And all of these, the modules are free. Even, when we come and look at accommodations, like what we do is already paid for by your tax dollars. So it doesn't cost you anything to use us. So, or to, when we make these modules and stuff, it doesn't cost you anything to use these. Next slide.
Great. And those modules were built so you guys could do them in a quick team meeting or over a lunch hour. They're anywhere from 15 minutes to half hour. Liz did put them in the chat too, so you can link right to it. They were also developed with some people with disabilities as our subject matter experts. And so that was really helpful on all of them too. So here's some disability resource hiring resources that are on CareerForce currently. This would relate more to our services about counseling, training, and skills development, informed choice, as Daisha had mentioned, workplace accommodations, just knowing your rights, a lot of resources for youth with disabilities, long-term career support, and the list goes on. So as Daisha explained how to get onto CareerForce, would love to have you go on there and look at all the focus links that Liz just put in the chat. Thanks, Liz. Next slide.
And I do want to point out to everyone that, as you jump around CareerForce MN, you notice that we have all of the career seeker, the job seeker focus links, and the employer focus links. Oftentimes they're the same content, but we've written them from the 2 different points of view, depending on who the audience is. So yeah, that's how to navigate it.
And here are just some more disability resources. We talked about the bite-sized learning. The ADA Minnesota is a great resource. And then our state services for the blind and vocational rehab services are both links on here. The Job Accommodation Network, which we'll go into right after this too. And then the STAR program. So it's a system of technology to achieve results. And the STAR program has, like it says, a lot of technology, actually. I believe that you can rent out to try and help a job seeker. Next slide. As Daisha had mentioned earlier, we have it in here many times because it's such a fabulous resource, is the JAN, the Job Accommodation Network. So askjan.org is the website there. It's a free, expert, confidential guidance on workplace accommodations and disability employment issues. There's job kits in there, as Daisha said, all the accommodations you can imagine. Fabulous, fabulous resource for anybody looking for any sort of accommodation information. So one thing to remember is just 1 in 4 people have a disability. This is kind of the common logo of disability. And, more often than not, when people think about disability, they think of one on the ends, the ones in the wheelchair. But more than likely, it's one in the middle. Can you tell which one has a disability? Do all of them? Do none of them? We don't know. So a lot of times disability is hidden. So just remembering that as you're moving forward with this. So thank you for listening to us today. As we said, Daisha and Marcy, we are more than happy to talk with your business, to come out with your business, to come out and do training for your business. And at this time, we will take questions.
Good, thank you. Yeah, I don't see any questions yet. Please put in the chat what questions you may have. Can you tell me, maybe just share a story about an employer who perhaps even had a longtime employee that was starting to develop something that could qualify for accommodations? What do you do in those situations when you go into a business?
I can take this one because we see this all the time. Now we know it is so much easier and cheaper to retain an employee, especially a good employee, than it is to post that position and hire a new employee. So what we run into a lot of time is long-term good employees. All of a sudden, their production level starts kind of going down a little bit, and then because they don't realize that maybe they're developing some sort of age-related eye condition, which is super common, especially the older you get. The closer you get to retirement, the more you're going to need those bifocals and then trifocals and whatever else comes next. And so we love to catch those individuals before the employer and the employee relationship kind of has been too strained. And so looking at if someone doesn't have to qualify for our services in order for us to come and look at that. So it was another state agency that had somebody that was declining in their vision. They weren't sure what's going on. They had the individual reach out to me. I talked to them. One of the assistive technologists and I went out. We looked at kind of the situation. Didn't matter that they didn't qualify for our services. That wasn't the point. The point was to get the accommodations on board that this person needed. And really it was pretty simple, what needed to happen. And so it was just, now that person got to keep their job, the employer got to keep their employee, everybody, it was a win-win for everybody all around.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. And, I recently saw an article, I don't know if it was posted by Deed or a national source, but talked about the cost of accommodations really was less expensive than many employers thought it was going to be in the first place. So what's the typical range? I mean, if it's software, is it, under $100, $500?
Yeah, that's a great question, Liz. So 50% of accommodations cost nothing at all. And once you really start digging into accommodations and what could be considered accommodation, we all actually use accommodations on a daily basis. And even
Glasses?
thinking of taking out glasses, or taking out a light bulb because it's too bright, or the LED, the fluorescence, I should say. Moving away from a copy machine or a busy walkway just for focus type of reasons. Those don't cost anything at all. And it can, as Daisha had mentioned, really help retain somebody and help them keep their job. After that, it's all dependent. Like you said, it can be software, or it can be something even very, very cheap. Up to $500 is kind of the next step in accommodations. That's kind of the 25%, and then beyond that. But we can always assist with that, and so you just need to reach out to us and we can come out and assist with those and find you resources.
Right. Yeah. And I was also looking on our companion site, Deed Data, with the labor market team. I know they periodically write articles about disability hiring, about unemployment with people with disabilities. I couldn't find anything real quickly while simultaneously talking, but I'll dig around there and see if there's anything. So I always encourage people to consider what labor market information they could use and get to apply to their situations, whether that's helpful or not. Wrapping up, any other thoughts that you have?
I think just, as we mentioned, reaching out to us, Daisha and I are happy to to chat with every one of your businesses and see how we can assist and dig into our talent pool of individuals looking for employment.
Great. Good. Thank you. You know, and I'm just going to share too. You can see, hopefully you can see my screen here. Yep, the Google Chrome. I'm going to go to the Meet Your Regional Team, and I wanted to point out to everyone that no matter where you are in the state, you can find someone to serve and talk with. So we've got this clickable map by your region. So even if you're up in the Northeast, Duluth, not Crookston, Duluth, International Falls, Carlton, Cloquet, you can click on the Northeast, and then on the right-hand side, Bruce Bach is Marcy's coworker up in that region. So you can contact Bruce directly, or as Marcy says, you can contact her and she'll connect you. And so that's the nice thing about this CareerForce MN page, that you can connect with whoever is in your region and go directly to them if you want.
And Daisha and I, our agencies work very closely together. So like she said, you reach out to one of us, you'll get both of us, or we will find you the resources that you need or the person that you need to chat with.
So thank you so much, both of you, for being on the call today. Everyone on the call, if you have questions, please reach out to any of us. You know, the easiest to remember is CareerForce at state.mn.us, or me or whoever. We can get those contacts to you. And so please come back next week. We're going to be delving into veterans employment resources and all the great work that the veterans team does, similar to what Marcy and Daisha do in connecting job seekers with employers. So thanks for being on, and talk to you later.
Everyone.
Thank you.